All right, let's dive right into this epic explainer. We're bringing together ancient lore and sci-fi to answer one massive question. Who survives the ultimate heavyweight monster clash? We are talking about the mythical titans of the deep, right? Those towering leviathans that have terrified sailors and captured our imaginations for literally centuries. If these impossible beasts were to actually cross paths, how would it all play out?
But before we get to the myths, let's ground ourselves in reality for a second. Picture this. It's 1997, and oceanographers detect an absolutely massive, unexplained, ultra-low frequency sound echoing from the deepest, darkest trenches of the Pacific Ocean. It was officially dubbed the Baloop. And guys, this thing was so immensely powerful, it was picked up by audio sensors spaced thousands of miles apart.
Which leads us to a pretty terrifying question, doesn't it? I mean, what kind of giant monster could make a sound that massive? Now, for a long time, the official explanation has been that it was merely a giant glacier cracking off an ice shelf. But what if it wasn't? What if that sound was just the prelude to a cosmic, earth-shattering battle hiding just beneath the waves?
Act 1. Legends of the Deep.
To really wrap our heads around a battle of this scale, we've got to tap into that primal human fear of the unknown ocean. Think about the undisputed apex predator of the water, the Kraken. We're talking about a creature with thousands of sunken ships to its name. It's so unbelievably massive and unrivaled that, well, it's literally bored. To the Kraken, a megalodon is light work, and a massive blue whale, basically just a pet goldfish. That pure boredom drives this colossal beast to Point Nemo. Now, Point Nemo is the most remote place on Earth. It's a desolate oceanic pole of inaccessibility, mostly known today as a watery dumping ground for dead space debris. But more importantly, according to ancient lore, deep below these pitch-black waters lies the sunken city of R'lyeh, built long before humanity even existed. So the Kraken wanders into these ruins looking for a fight and accidentally wakes up a slumbering, terrifying entity that's been resting there for hundreds of millennia.
And that brings us to our first contender. Rudely awakened from his nap, it's H.P. Lovecraft's cosmic nightmare himself, Cthulhu. And listen, this isn't just an earthling. Ancient texts tell us Cthulhu actually originates from the 23rd nebula on the planet Vul, and he has an alien name that human tongues literally cannot pronounce. He stands a towering 150 to 160 feet tall, his face a horrifying mass of 45 tentacles, and to top it all off, he sports these massive, dragon-like wings that allow him to traverse the vacuum of space. Seriously terrifying stuff.
All right, ring the bell. It is time for round 1, Kraken versus Cthulhu. Just imagine the sheer spectacle of this for a second. The ocean's biggest, baddest squid wrapping its massive tentacles around the head of a malevolent cosmic demigod. They violently erupt from the seafloor, two monsters larger than the tallest skyscrapers, breaking the surface as the skies go dark, thunder crashes, and the world's oceans just begin to foam.
When we compare their combat styles, it is a truly fascinating contrast. The Kraken represents sheer brute animal force. It is the absolute apex ocean predator, entirely reliant on its watery domain and raw physical strength to tear its enemies apart. Cthulhu, on the other hand, possesses a malevolent, almost omniscient intelligence. We're talking telepathy, dream invasion, and reality-warping magic. So it's essentially raw brawn versus a terrifying psychic brain.
And you know what? Cthulhu's brain is already at work. Even while he was sleeping, he was telepathically communicating with his loyal cult followers. Now that he's awake and fighting the Kraken, he sends out a massive mental command. Down on the coast of Chile, dozens of ships, from ordinary fishing boats to heavily armed Navy vessels, are suddenly boarded by sailors in a deep hypnotic trance. When someone asks them where they're going, their eyes go totally dark and they give one chilling reply: into eternity. They're sailing directly to Point Nemo to help their Dark Lord. But hey, the Kraken isn't fighting alone either. Over the centuries, the Kraken didn't just sink ships for fun. It turns out it actually saved thousands of marine animals that were trapped in human fishing nets. And as Cthulhu's cultist ships arrive, the Kraken cashes in all those favors. A massive marine counterattack kicks off. Blue whales mercilessly ram the cultist submarines. Electric eels unleash targeted EMPs to disable ship engines. Great white sharks completely swarm the waters, and giant octopuses grapple the vessels. It is absolute oceanic chaos.
Tracking this chaos, it unfolds incredibly fast. Minute 1, Cthulhu wakes up angry. Hour 1, the Kraken launches its physical assault. Day 2, Cthulhu's mind-controlled cultist ships finally arrive.
Day 3, the Kraken's marine army counters and completely disables the fleet. Feeling the physical pressure, Cthulhu unleashes his magic, literally boiling the ocean and raising the ancient city of R'lyeh, totally stripping the Kraken of its watery advantage. Then, human fighter jets arrive to try and stop the madness, but Cthulhu generates a massive EMP, sending them all crashing down. But wait, at hour 72, the sky literally falls. Remember how Point Nemo is a space graveyard? Well, hundreds of idle, dead satellites suddenly rain down from orbit, bombarding Cthulhu and burying the monster under a mountain of space debris.
So, moving into Act 2, the Challenger appears.
After being bruised, disoriented, and battered by all that raining space debris, Cthulhu decides to retreat beneath the waves alongside his sunken city, presumably to go back to sleep for another few thousand years. But humanity shouldn't start celebrating just yet, because as Cthulhu retreats to heal, a brand new challenger emerges from the depths. Enter our surprise grand finalist, straight out of Norse mythology and thoroughly documented in Arthur Quinn's texts, Jormungandr, the World Serpent. Born of the trickster god Loki in Midgard, this is a creature of truly incomprehensible scale. Legend says it's prophesied to grow so incredibly large that it eventually encircles the entire earth, biting its own tail. To put this beast's power into perspective for you, it is so immensely durable that even the mighty god Thor's most devastating attacks proved completely useless against it.
And if being as big as the Earth wasn't enough, the serpent wields an even greater weapon, omnipoison. Guys, this isn't just your regular snake venom. This is a lethal, magical toxin specifically designed to kill immortals. It is so potent that it literally withers entire environments. Just the blood, the sweat, or a single breath released by the world serpent will instantly turn the very atmosphere into death, extinguishing absolutely all life it touches.
All right, let's move to the main event. It is the ultimate speculative boss battle, Cthulhu versus the world serpent. We are pitting Lovecraftian cosmic horror against the unstoppable, world-ending force of Norse mythology. So, who walks away from this clash of the titans?
Well, when you put them side by side like this, Cthulhu's scale actually kind of pales in comparison. Hailing from the 23rd Nebula, wielding incredible psychic and reality-warping powers, Cthulhu tops out at a relatively modest 160 feet tall. But the world serpent, born of Loki, armed with omnipoison and totally invulnerable to physical attacks, it literally wraps around 9 worlds over time. I mean, Cthulhu might be a giant to us humans, but to Jormungandr, he's basically just a speck of dust.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, wait, Cthulhu is super intelligent. He could just use mind control to win, right? Well, actually, Cthulhu's greatest weapon, his psychic mind reading and telepathy, would be completely useless here. The Norse texts reveal that the world serpent has impenetrable mental defenses. It previously survived and casually tanked extreme psychic assaults from the mythical being Ratatoskr, so Cthulhu's psychic tricks wouldn't even leave a scratch on the serpent's mind.
So, let's break down the brutal step-by-step logic of how the serpent secures its victory. Step 1. The serpent easily ignores any physical or magical attacks Cthulhu throws at it, all thanks to its invulnerable physiology. Step 2. It traps the 160-foot alien in its inescapable, earth-crushing coils. And Step 3. It releases its immortal-killing omnipoison. Look, even an ancient space entity like Cthulhu, who can survive in the vacuum of space for millennia, cannot survive the suffocating grip and the fatal atmospheric death of the omnipoison. The world serpent reigns supreme.
Which brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? That massive sound detected in 1997. The official story is that the bloop was just a glacier cracking in the deep ocean, but was it? After diving into these colossal clashes today, you kind of have to wonder, is humanity's scientific explanation for the bloop the actual truth? Or is it simply Cthulhu's mind control, making all of us forget the terrifying, earth-shattering reality lurking just beneath the waves?